Hello, you malty master maltsters, and thank you to Bob Skinner for that malt mention. You're in the bothy. You're somewhere in the mysterious place of the Irish Sea. Yeah, it's where the bothy is, in some surrounded by mist, and somewhere caught between the past, the present, and the future. Yeah. And I've not even had any whiskey yet. So, I'm Ralphie, you're welcome, and this is Ralphie Review 949. And the whiskey I am reviewing is Balblair 12-year-old. I'd like to tell you why I'm reviewing this. That's a very good place to start. I'm reviewing it because I've had a series now during August and September of reviewing more obscure and less known official bottlings of single malts from distilleries like Edradour, for example, where I've taken a little bit of a deep dive without going too far. And I've also been reviewing some of the new generation and some familiar names from independent bottlers of the better stuff. And there's some really good stuff out there. And as seasoned whiskey treasure hunters, that's what we are. We're always on the lookout for the good stuff. Particularly the good stuff in a good delivery at a good price. And that's why I'm reviewing this. Because we're now in October 2022, and if you join me for Ralphie Review 949 Extras, I'm going to tell you why October is such an important month. In fact, the most important month of the year for whiskey drinkers. But no spoilers. I'm going to spoil myself now instead with a glass of this rather excellent single malt. A word of advice: it is a flask style bottling and the cork is rather on the loose side. If you pick up this bottle, do not pick it up like so unless your fingers are firmly around the neck of the bottle, because quite literally the cork is so loose it'll come straight off the bottle and you risk dropping the bottle and smashing it. Malt mates, that would be a disaster. I have reviewed so far on my channel Balblair about 9 times. It's been quite an assortment and it spans over 10 years. Balblair is a Highland distillery. It's a North Highland distillery, somewhere between Dalmore and Glenmorangie, north of Inverness and south of Wick. That kind of narrows it down for you. The style of Balblair is light. It's a light Highland whisky, but don't be deceived, because there's a lot of complexity within that lightness. And what I mean by light is it's not peat heavy, it's not sherry loaded, it's not got a specific dominant note like you would find in Laphroaig with its peatiness, or within Cardew, for example, with its relative sweet maltiness. There's a lot going on with Balblair, and furthermore, to add to the appeal, it's integrity bottled. The range of Balblair is integrity bottled. It's bottled at 46%, unchill filtered and natural colour. And we need to pay attention to these style of bottlings, particularly when they're at a good price. In the UK, at this moment in time, in October 2022, you can pick up. I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, for goodness sake, Ralph, have a sip. Good. You can pick up a bottle of this at a sensible retailer, right? So careful where you buy, because prices can vary considerably depending on whether the specific retailer feels they can just get away with it. But you should be able to pick up a bottle of this for £45 to £50. And I'm telling you, from the bothy, right here and now, you're struggling to find better value single malts. That's a good deal by any standard. And listen up, malt mates, because there's something you really, really need to know. I predict that within 2 years, when I'm reviewing whiskey in 2024, fingers crossed, that the prices of a bottle of 12-year-old single malt will be nearer £80 to £100 on a regular basis. For a simple reason, the ongoing effects of global inflation, coupled with the sudden and dramatic rise in production costs for single malt whisky, because it's a quality item. To get quality results, you need quality investments. The cost of grain, the cost of heating, fuel alone in distilleries is a huge, huge cost. And it has soared recently. Distilleries, in order to survive, will have no choice but to raise their prices, even when whisky drinkers are walking away because they can no longer consider it an affordable item. And this is the fact of it. The price of whisky in demand, it's a tightrope walk. It always has been. We've enjoyed a really good spell from 2000 up to 2020 of relatively controlled low inflation, which has meant low price rises until the moment about 8 years ago, when some distilleries decided we can get more for our product because of the frenzy. And they weren't wrong. I mean, there's people out there, and don't be one of them, who are really getting sucked into this, spending too much money on the promises of the future demand and value of whisky. And like every other bubble, it's going to, I wouldn't say it's going to burst suddenly, it's going to deflate. Now, I'm going to give you a valuable tip here. If you want to know the true value of a drinking whisky, not a collectible whisky, of a drinking whisky, go to online auctions and see what the aftermarket price is for that whisky. That's a very good indicator. Right. Enough of that now. Smell and taste. Here we go. Balblair, North Highland, malty, spicy, fruity, complex. Honeyed. Balblair is honeyed. That's part of this signature that comes from the still. The people at this distillery know what they're doing. They do a good job. They do a really good job, by the way. The consistency that you get in the batches of Balblair is commendable. The only mistake they've made recently is that they rebranded their packaging and went too far. They changed it too far, and I'm going to comment on that in a future video, because it made people miss Balblair because of the rebranding. I'm here to really kind of readdress that a little bit. Smell. Barley sugar, vanilla, little bit of honey, soft spices, soft herbaceous notes, little bit of sultana going on in there. A little bit of pineapple, a little bit of banana, tropical fruit thing, slight, suggested, not imposed. Flavour, neat, nippy, boom, shock to the palate. This needs some water. In case you're wondering, I've lost my jug and I don't know where I've put it, so I'm using this tumbler at the moment, seeing as I very rarely use whisky tumblers. Full teaspoonful of water, the full 5 millilitres. Not centilitres, millilitres. This has a dramatic effect in a relatively short space of time. This is 12-year-old Balblair. When you read the label, it says natural colour, non-chill filtered, 46 I have to add that the packaging is mercifully free of disingenuous flannel and distractive content. And I put this down to the owners of the distillery, who, in my opinion, do a very good job as custodians of Balblair. Nose with water. Softer, more fresh fruit. The honeys become fresher, more summery. It's a wonderful, intense, complex, summery dram. It reminds you of fields and country lanes and that sort of stuff. I'll let you interpret that how you wish. The herbaceousness becomes a little more subdued. The pineapple notes, the banana notes, a slight apricot note that you get comes out on the nose. This is a very articulate malt. This has been matured in good, well-prepared casks. It shows. Taste. Just a little. Deliciously, intensely tangy. Immediately you notice the presence of the sensation range. Sweet and sour, particularly, beautifully balanced. Really well balanced from quality ex-bourbon casks. And then that bitterness, a confident bitterness that you get with old school single malts that we today do not see enough of. We just don't. This is the flavour. When you taste this, you're tasting the flavour that gained Scotch whisky its reputation in the first place. It's excellent and very professionally delivered. It's no wonder back in Ralphie Review 731 I sent a love letter to Balblair. That love letter still stands. Tell me, Tibia, can you notice the Scotch mist appearing in that glass? Scotch mist. They're not just saying that it's non-chill filtered. They're showing you that this is non-chill filtered. That is important, particularly the more experienced you get as a maltster. Another taste. Big volume flavours. Assertive, complex, tangy, spicy, soft banana, creamy toffee, barley sugar, absolutely. The honey note never goes away. Pineapple, banana, soft apricot, some soft summer fruits, the more intense fruits, the orange fruits. Some delightful slight orange, even mandarin citrus notes. And in the finish, delightful vanilla and a little bit of ginger, green ginger, rounding things off. I tell you what, this is damn good stuff. What kind of malt mark am I going to give this? I was swithering about it. I don't like to be overly generous, but I've got to keep things practical. This is not the channel for high-end, overhyped, overpriced, totem, desirable, pedestal single malts. I'm keeping it practical, keeping it real, keeping it affordable here as much as I can. And this is reflected in the mark. I mark according to my experience, my overall impression of this. And I tell you what, am I disappointed? No. Seriously, this whisky in 2022 is exceeding my expectations. It's a 90 malt, mates. It's 90 out of 100. That is my integrity malt mark. And if I were you, I'd buy a bottle of this stuff because it's a bottle of education, a bottle of authentic, original, comprehensive single malt experience, no matter what your favourite style is or where you think you're at in your journey. You're going to learn so much from this. You, I assure you, will have an engaging and complex conversation with this whisky should you take it slowly, sip slowly, and savour over time, and make sure that bottle lasts you several months. So I'm here for sharing the knowledge. I'm Ralphie the Bothy. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please click like if you haven't. It's coming up to Christmas time. It's coming up to the new year in the Western world. And that means something very important. And that importance is going to be articulated in my next review, 949 Extras, in which I talk about whisky and October. Right, whisky and October. I got you thinking now. What's Ralphie going to have to say next? Is there anything else I want to add? I'm going to conclude this video, because they're never short. Because there's too much to say, too much to learn. And when whiskies are short, whisky reviews are short, they're flippant, they're two-dimensional. You know, you can find them when you look. But I'm taking more of a deep dive here. And I want to conclude by saying, all distilleries take note about rebranding. The reason Balblair is not recognised the way it should be is because a few years ago they completely rebranded and totally changed the packaging. The only thing that never changed was the actual shape and style of the bottle, or should I say the flask itself. Now, you look at two of the all-time most successful Scotch whisky brands ever, and you will notice that they both have something in common, and that is they've only changed slightly over time. They've changed gradually and incrementally, because when people see an image on a bottle, when they see a label, they equate that subliminally, subconsciously, with what's in the bottle. And when you suddenly change your branding of your bottle dramatically as a distillery, and it doesn't matter whether it's Scotch whisky or anything, you take a real risk that people look at your new branding and they don't recognise what's in the bottle. They don't recognise the signature, because people, when they look at the branding that's changed, they think the contents have changed as well and will no longer be what they remember with affection. Distillers take note. Right? These two brands that haven't changed much but have retained roughly the same look over 50 years are Johnnie Walker and Glenfiddich. Bye.